But the most interesting thing that we're going to be doing in this episode is solving the problem of what to do. The factory used lead to fill that void in, and I don't want to.
No! God, please, no! No!
Thanks for watching. We're on the Camaro. She's a roller again. This episode, we're going to be doing some basic just sort of finishing out of some of the metal work. We've got a little rust hole here and there. We've got a couple little gutters on the trunk to replace. But the most interesting thing that we're going to be doing in this episode is solving the problem of what to do, with the lead that typically went in this seam right here. The factory used lead to fill that void in, and I don't want to. I hate working with lead. I'm not very good at it, and it's lead. So I'm going to walk you through the process of doing this. So we're going to jump on that first. Now, it was a consensus by people way smarter than me that this was a common area for cars to be joined together with the two panels. The biggest reason is so that they wouldn't have to do one ginormous complex stamping. It wouldn't be cost effective. So that's where this major panel and this major panel join up together. And it was pretty much decided that between every major auto manufacturer, everybody's going to smear lead in the seams. And it's just how they were built. The reason they use lead is because it still remains a little bit what they call malleable. It's still a little bit flexible. So as this is a major flex point, especially in a unibody car or a hybrid unibody like the Camaros are, this takes a lot of stress. The lead helped absorb some of that flex because car bodies flex. But look here. Look at that gap. Look at that void right down in here. That is, we're bridging on 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to slide it down. And it doesn't get better, it gets worse. So, because lead will tolerate massive film thickness.
Film at 11.
The custom guys in the 50s used to build and sculpt with lead and tunnel antennas and extend headlight buckets and things like that. Lead will tolerate that massive film thickness. Other fillers, not so much. They're not made for that. So what we're going to do here is use filler, but we're going to use it properly. Spoiler alert, what we're going to do is grind this flush. I'm going to use 18 gauge metal, plate this, bring it to a depth that is a little more acceptable for today's fillers, and then use something that, that will also remain a little bit flexible, and it will bridge the gap, literally, and give us a solution for the problem of what to do when we don't want to work with lead. This is the filler I'm going to be using. This is a metal reinforced filler. It's got aluminum particles in it. And I talked to the product people about this and explained what I wanted to do with it. And they said it's the perfect application for this. And it will tolerate the thickness and it'll tolerate the stress as well. So pretty important for me. We're not just going to smack a bunch of filler on it. Obviously, we're going to prep the metal. This is a DTM, direct to metal filler, so it'll be fine without a primer underneath. But what we're going to do first is use this 18 gauge, fill it in, bring the level up as much as we can. The way we do that is to cut out a piece, weld it in, and, oh, I get to use my new welder today too. And we're going to make a template to do that. And templating is no big deal. It's pretty easy. I use masking tape, so let's go over and do just exactly that, shall we? All right, so this is pretty straightforward. We can obviously see the edges of the gap that we want to fill, and there's our shape. I'm going to come right out to here. I can trim it back if I want to, but I don't know, I'm going to get a pen and draw that out, and we'll transfer that to maybe to cardboard, and then we'll refine it. All right, that's what we'll do. I want to come inside this edge. I want it to step down a little bit. So I'm just going to do a rough shape here. Right here, that neck's around, that's about that. I might do just a tiny chunk on the inside of that, but I want to use the radius of this lowered area to fill in and to step down so I have a relief. So I'm not just creating a big balloon on the back side of it, a big air gap. But my favorite term is that we're sneaking up on it, so let's sneak. So this guy-ish, right? Okay, good enough. I'm going to cut it a little bit excessively. Then we'll test fit it. Remember in Boy Scouts when they were teaching us how to use a pocket knife? And they said, never cut towards your thumb, always cut towards your chum. I always found that a little bit heartless. You want to point the pocket knife towards your buddy so you don't cut your own thumb. But it's okay to cut his. I don't know, man. Let's roll with that and test it on the card. Let's see what we got. This is how I want it to fit up here. You can actually see the shadow of what I want to take advantage of. So I need to trim this and just kind of whittle it down just a bit. I want it to fit a little bit better than that. All right, I'm going to roll with that. Then I can whittle on it if I want to. And because we have a left and a right, we've got mirror image. I'm going to do one on this side too. Taking advantage of this long flat space that I could just refine the edge instead of recutting it. All right, so we're going to just look and see. I'm okay across the top. I kind of overdid there. That's fine. And I want to trim a little bit more off a couple of areas. Kind of down through here. I just want it to sit inside that shelf a little bit more than it is. And around the corner a little bit. And we'll see what that gets us. All right, let's see what that did. All right, so I'm good with that. It still stands up a little bit proud, but we've got to prep these plug welds flush. So that's the next order of business right here. I'm going to make the other one for the other side, but we're going to focus on this side right now. And yeah, get those Welds ground flush. We'll do some metal prep on both pieces, and then we'll start burning some ferrous metal. That's going to fit in there super nice. Alrighty. We've got a little bit more metal to prep to do around here, but I'm going to put a dust mask on because it's going to be dusty. So that's going to work with that. I'm just going to do some prunts on this piece here. Make sure I've got all the oxidation off of it. Now we're ready for more stuff, right? Okay, what are we ready for, Kevin? We're ready for cleaning the surface and then putting a weld-through primer in here as well as on the back side of my metal patch. All right, now I've got to set up a paint booth. So our weld-through primer is dry enough. And I want to talk about my new machine. This is my new welder. It's an Eastwood MP200i. It's a multi-process with AC/DC capability. It's a great little machine. When I auditioned it, I was running it on the 110 volt because it's voltage sensitive, and I worked it pretty hard and never threw a breaker, and it did what I asked it to do. I've got it on 220 now, but it's interesting because I can switch from argon to the blended gas because it's got two different gas circuits. I like that feature. I got no downtime. It's got a spool gun capability, which, because I suck at TIG welding aluminum, I'll probably use my spool gun on this. The other welder is a great little machine. If you haven't figured it out, I've got two different shops. What we shoot most of the YouTube in is in this building here. And I was constantly bringing my welder back and forth and setting it up and moving those storage, the gas tanks and stuff. So talking with Eastwood, I started looking at these, and they've got some great online videos, and I said, hey, yeah, I'll buy one of those. So I like the machine so far. We're going to beat it up and weld these pieces in. So that's the deal with that. And you guys know me. I've been working with Eastwood for 26 years now. And I like their approach. I like their stuff. So my thought with this is I'm really close to big expanses of sheet metal. I don't want to cave this in. I don't want to cause distortion in here. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to tape this in place right where I want it. And we're going to do the Bodyman tack weld surprise. And we're going to use 11,000 tack welds instead of a continuous bead. And I think I've got the welder set properly. But we can adjust that. Try not to touch. So that's about right for that. On the back side, yeah, it's going to be a pocket. There's lots of pockets in these cars. I've done the best I can by prepping the metal properly. We've got weld-through primer on both sides. To me, that's going to have a very long life. So, get our PPE up and running, tack this in place, and we'll burn some metal, right? This is fun. All right, so I want to take a look, just verify, and I kind of want to show you guys what the plan is and what my goal has been right here. I'm going to get my wooden paint stick, which is a reasonable straight edge, sort of, but look at the profile of that. Now, I showed you when we started how much of a gap there was. And you can see it by the black line, right? You can see that we're going to have maybe 1/8 of an inch of filler on this. So that solves the problem of filling in an enormous gap, and then of course we're going to use the metal infused body filler on top of here, smooth it out, body work it, and then it's body work as usual. And so I'm just going to get rid of the soot, and we'll take a look at the weld. I think we've got a good weld right there. I don't see any holes. There's one hole right there. I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm going to fill it in a little bit back here, and then we'll grind it flush, and then we'll move on to body filler. So this is working out. I'm just going to check one more thing. It's sunk just a hair, right? Yeah, so we're going to have a little bit of filler material in there, but that's fine. Yeah, not bad. Still a little toasty. I don't feel any warpage, so we're good shape. All right, so we got pretty good weld going on. I might fill in that one little void right there. It just bugs me. But it feels really good here. And right here, I feel a little bit of a swell. It's sunk in right there. So I did warp it a little bit. But like I talk about in my Paintucation videos, the body panel replacement video, which you can get streaming and on demand and all that type of stuff. Just saying. Link below in the website. If you want to up your skills in body panel replacement, I got a great DVD, video, or streaming. Metal doesn't disappear. A dent is not the absence of metal. It's metal that's displaced. It's pushed down, so it's pushed up on either side. So before I go any further, I'm going to spoon it down here and just try and equalize that a little bit. I've got buckets load of body filler. I can fill that if I need to, but I want to try and just kind of put the metal back where it wants to be in the first place. So give me just a second. I'm going to get some hammering tools. All right, so I am using earplugs because it's like a big metal drum. So this is a slapping spoon. It's designed to be smacked instead of a hammer blow that's going to give a direct impact point. This spreads out the force over a larger area. So I'm high right there. That helped it. It's high right there also. Bigger one. Okay, so that's going to show me what's going on there. I can see a bit of a gap. It's a little low. I can live with that. The important thing is this right here. All right, so now we can truly see with the metal ground down how much we've got to fill. And that might be a proud 1/8 of an inch, mostly a 1/16 or so. And so how much filler is too much filler, Kevin? Most body filler manufacturers will tell you no more than a 1/4 inch of total mill thickness after prep. So if we're an 1/8 of an inch here, we're fine, right? We're in good shape to just completely smooth that over with filler. That's completely within the rules. All right, so let's go ahead and prep this a little bit further because body filler is not a big mound over top of the repair. It's a tapered out, feathered bit of business. So we're going to get our 80 grit DA sander, prep a little bit past, and then we'll move on to body filler. And this is actually working out like I thought it would, but it's taking less time, which is cool. Two important things to remember about using anybody's body filler. Use the catalyst that came with it. Some of these compositions are very, very different. There's another manufacturer that makes a metal infused and it's got an MEKP liquid hardener. Use the catalyst that came with the filler. The other thing is this. Make sure you understand what it's supposed to stick to. This one actually says high strength reinforced. It says, well, water resistant. That's good. We want that. I want to confirm that it's direct to metal application. All right, so I actually got my reading glasses on that I could see out of, and I looked up the TDS for this product online. They're all out there. They're all available. Just use the part number and TDS and hit search. You got a smartphone, there's no excuses. But also, the tiny print on the can tells me in several places that this is a direct-to-metal application. And it's a waterproof application because of the resins that are in it. So if I have any porosity in my weld or any pinholes that I've missed or anything like that, this stuff is going to give a water-resistant seal from the backside and the front side. So that's a good thing. Now I know. There's no excuse for not knowing. We're in the information age, man. There's so much stuff at our fingertips. There's no reason that we shouldn't be informed on these products. I've even got training modules on how to how to read a TDS sheet. So the filler looks like gray. I can even see metal flakes in it, so kind of fun. I don't see any need to stir this up because it hasn't settled. The resins have not separated. No, they have a little bit. All right, so I'm going to stir this. That's the thing too, is you got to make sure everything is blended. You don't want to put a bunch of air pockets in it.
No!
You certainly don't want to put it on a paint shaker.
No, God!
But you want to make sure that the products are blended. Sometimes they'll settle in the can, and even though they've got an indefinite shelf life, which means it's usable 150 years from now, sometimes they separate. All right, so I don't know how much I'm going to need for that, but I'm just going to flop out a bunch here. Fast fact with most body fillers that are polyester based, you've got about 6 minutes of work time from the time that you start adding your catalyst to the time to where it congeals and cross-links hard enough to where it's difficult to spread. So you got to be efficient with your time. And it comes with this dinky little spreader, and I don't like it, so I'm going to get a better one. This has got a little more finger room for me. So 2% by weight. This is about, they say, a stripe across a golf ball sized section. So I'm going to do a stripe and a half because there's a couple of golf balls down there. Doing my figure 8 blend. Keeping the edge of the spreader on my mixing board. Look how quickly that blends it in. And I'm not folding a bunch of air into this. I'll check it. Why you spread it out flat, Kevin? See all those little pockets in there? If I have it up in a big pile, those pockets are going to continue to trap air. So now, let's go over to our place of work. So my first wipe is super tight to get it in the voids. Like that. I don't want pockets. I'm really ramming it down in there. And now I can apply for appearance. I've got plenty of time, but I want to be efficient also. All right, I'm going to leave the biggest part of it alone completely, and I'm just going to clean up my edges, like about there, or maybe right about there. And the voice in my head is going, stop touching it. That's what I'm going to do. All right, so my paper tells me that's dry. I can see that it's dry. It's still a little bit tacky. I'm just taking cleanup thinner, lacquer thinner, and wiping over the top. And that'll get that resin smucky coating off of there. And we can go straight to sanding. I'm just going to use a DA sander with 80 grit, and we'll see what that gets us. Okay. All right, so feeling this right now, it feels blended and flush right there. It feels a little low right there. I can feel it there. We're prepped to 80, which is perfect for that filler. It's real stinking smooth. I can see a bit of a gap there, I'm gonna do another wipe, come out a little bit. We're within a 30-second of material thickness here. So I'm gonna scratch these low spots, and we're gonna wipe again, and we'll block again, and then that gets us back to shape, right? Super nice. Got a worn out DA pad here. This is just because I'm cheap, but I keep them around for a little bit. So I'm just scratching the base of those low spots. And that's important because if you don't, you could create an air pocket, which wouldn't affect the life of the repair, but it might possibly sink back down into the voids depending on heat. It might expand and contract in different heat cycles. So I'm just going to leave this alone in here. I'm just going to rough it up on the outside edge just in case my filler wipe goes over that. I don't typically do body work without a mask on, but this is just a little bit surface prep. There, bam, bam, bam. All right, so we're going to give that another thin, super thin skim coat, and that's gonna wrap this up, man. Okay, there we have it. This now gets me to the point where I would take over from a lead repair, with the exception with lead. What I was taught a long time ago is if you're working over top of lead, whether it's existing OE lead or redone lead, is that you scuff it and immediately clean it with acetone, and then immediately, like right away, have your gun loaded with epoxy primer and spray it over right away. Lead oxidizes very, very quickly, and it can form a layer in between atmosphere and substrate, and it can cause bubbling if you leave it too long. So it's kind of this panic race thing that has to happen. This, well, it's a filler. So the next steps, just like it would be if it was lead, are going to be a high build wipeable filler, regular Bondo, whatever you want to call it, and then come back with my conventional repairs. Block it out. I typically use a high build polyester primer over top of my wipeable fillers because it's a spray filler and I can get a super straight panel with it. But this is it, man. This is, like we said, it's 1/8 of an inch thick. It feathers out over here. You can see where I had kind of warped a little bit with heat. It's compensated for that. And we've got bare metal around this, which is a moisture barrier. It's a really good way to do it. So what I'm going to do now is take my metal conditioner, my pickle axe. I'm just going to wipe a little bit onto the bare metal. And this is temporary. And all I'm doing is the edges, because I don't want that to flash rust. So I'm just doing the very edges. I'm not soaking this stuff into my aluminum filler because I don't want it to etch into it. So now when I come back and when I'm ready for the other types of filler on this, I'll scuff down past that. I'll get that top layer off and make sure that I'm not covering this up because they're incompatible with some chemistry. So anyway, that's going to keep this from flash rusting, and now I can move on, and this is not going to rust, and I can not have to think about that until I'm ready for the same step in the rest of it. Does that make sense? I'm pretty stoked with that repair. Next, we're going to tackle this little guy right here. So this has been exposed with the Media Blaster. I could tell it was pitted, but I didn't know it was pitted that bad. So if you look, you can see, and I'm going to draw them in, there's pits all the way down here. And there's pits up here. And it's separated there. There's some factory sealer there. So the hole is just right here. But this is super thin metal, right? So the way I'm going to approach this is because rust is like an iceberg. You only see about a third of it. I'm probably going to cut this much out of the bottom piece, and I'll probably cut that much out of the top piece, back through there, and that should get me back to good metal all the way around there. Capiche? Cool. All right, so this showed me nothing but good things. This oxide color here, that's the factory primer. Look at the good metal underneath there. So I don't have to dig any further. There's so many captured panels here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 layers there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean the edges of my cut. Wipe that with some solvent. Some lacquer thinner, evaporates quickly, and because I'm over the top and I can't control myself, use a little bit of the weld-through primer on the back side of that. And I'm liking this stuff. This is from Seymour. I didn't even know they had weld-through primer. All right, so that'll dry while I am making my patches. Look at that, super crispy, right? All right, so I got my stock of 20 gauge, which is the same gauge as this. Super precise line right there. But what I do know is that I cut to the inside edge of that line, and that makes my one patch. I'll just set that right down there on the floor. I'm going to the inside. I'll cut it a little proud. like so. I'll go to the inside of this guy, and again, a little proud. All right, there's one down. Now, this guy's a little bit different because there's a complex shape in it. But I know what it's supposed to look like, so what we're going to do here is massage it flat. Before I do that, I'm going to remind myself where the corner is. The corner's right about there. So I'm just going to cut a big dang triangle. Oh look, there's already a big dang triangle. No. No. Doesn't work like that, Kevin. So we're going to cut it here. And I know that my corner is there, and on this side it's right about there. So we're going to do, after we cut it, we're going to do a bend about there, and that should take care of it. You know what I just remembered that I have? I think I'm probably going to be setting this shop up for the next 5 years. Sorry, but got something that's going to help. Unattached, but it gives me an anvil and it gives me a vise. So, this is something I can actually form metal with against, and here, because there's my bend, right? Now, just spanking tool. That may be close enough. So there's my top piece. Here's my other piece. All right, let's go see if they measure up on the vehicle. So this one obviously needs a bit of an arc to it. And I believe that gets the job done. I've got to tweak. No, I don't even have to tweak that end. Maybe I do a little bit. Hang on. All right, I'm in love with that. Yep, I absolutely dig that. So that's going to go right there. Just for mock-up's sake, I'm going to tape it. What's really fun is working with masking tape with rubber gloves on. Try that there. Now, what this guy does, I've got my bend in somewhat of an incorrect place. I got the mark in the right place, but the bend is in the wrong place. So that'll go there. That'll work. I just need to bring this 90 back to the edge of the of my ink marker. That's easy. All right, how do we do that? We ask it nicely. So I want to correct that about there. Snug it up pretty good. So that changed the orientation of the bend. Let's see if it translates. Of course, there's a bit of an arc to the top as well, because nothing can be flat, because aerodynamics and Camaro-ness takes over. All right, so that right there, yeah, heck to the yeah, right there. It's gonna work, isn't it? All right, good. So now we do a little bit of metal prep. I'm gonna install my bottom piece first. Just gonna expose some metal there and make sure that I've got not burning paint. Just a little bit of housekeeping there. Then we've got a couple of magnets to hold our workpiece in where it's supposed to be. And all right, so that's that. That's where that goes. I'll put a couple tacks in there and then work that down flat, but I do have a plan. All right then. We need a closed circuit in order to weld. That involves the ground clamp. We have some bare metal right here. Look at that. Now some PPE, and we will zap that into place. Oh, wait, Kevin. Almost outsmarted myself. T for top side. T for top side, and what we're gonna do is some weld through primer. We gotta prep the back side. I'm going to get my digital paint booth again. Get Mr. Seymour. Feed me. Feed me. And if you got that reference, you really are my people. Just gonna get all the combustible stuff out of the immediate area. Don't want welding spatter on my jaws of my cutters. T for topside, Kevin. Yeah, all right. So now we're going to zap it in a couple of places, massage it into place, and then think about our other piece. Get the massager, welding hat. Oh, yeah. As much as I like a suntan that goes from here to here, I'm going to opt out of that fashion statement today. Thanks, camera guy. Teamwork. Something. All right. I kind of want that to be flush, more flush. Okay, that feels better. All right, now I know I'm going to give it a zap. Right. Let's talk about the top guy. That's pretty spanking cool right there. That works, man. That's where it's supposed to go. I got to hold it up a little bit right there, but I can see that gap. See how nice that fits? That's one in a row, man. So there's our basic patch, right? Contour follows along the contour, and it's about in the same space, yeah. So, by the way, you guys have got me thinking about ferrous and non-ferrous steel, and never shall the twain meet, and it's a good idea to label your brushes for steel and aluminum. And thanks for the comments. I think my acid bath, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can't read my mind, on the aluminum wheels, I used some steel brushes to clean the aluminum on the aluminum wheels. But what I did is I follow that up with acid and with a red maroon scuffing pad, which is, it's a scuffing pad. And I think that might have negated any galvanic corrosion that was instigated there. So lots of big words, whatever. You shouldn't mix the two, but I think I've saved myself on that and I won't have any issues with the wheels. But this, now all I gotta do is connect the dots and burn that in, and we'll be ready for a wipe of filler on that too. All right, I gotta get the belt sander now. So that gets me new metal there anyway. I can fix the rest with filler, and yes, I'm gonna have to use a little filler there. Oh, it's okay. Tried to keep it flush, it caved in a little bit there. I don't care, it's new metal. It's gonna last another 50 years. So we're good to go on that. I don't know why, I just see a little bit of a, okay. All right, so OCD satisfied there. So I'm gonna go ahead and treat that with Mr. Pickle X, and we will be ready for that when we come back with our conventional filler for the rest of the repair. We'll hit that guy too. All right, so one bite at a time, right? It's a big elephant, but we're gonna eat this sucker. I keep finding things. There's a little gap right here. It's just a little split. And I burned in the pillar, tapped it in, and I did a relief cut right there. And I saw it, and I made myself a note that says, weld. So I'm going to weld that. There's a couple of other pieces here and there that I'm going to just go back in and stitch and remind myself of. There's a really interesting project in the trunk. The trunk gutter that holds the weather seal didn't come on the quarter panels. It made me really sad. But I had to buy them separate, and we're going to put them in. I'll walk you through that process because it's a little persnickety, and if you're doing quarters on these Camaros, I know a lot of you Camaro guys are watching this, it's really great tech. In the meantime, I'm going to continue doing this. I'm going to do a couple laps around the car, and I'm going to I'll put in a late night and get some of this welding done. And in the meantime, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for paying attention. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for being aware that we have built, not bought, garbage Camaro t-shirts. And the Paintucation website links in the description. So anyway, we appreciate you very much. And thanks for going along with the ride. And I'm going to get back to work. See you next week.